Story now. The South African Banking Risk Information Center has identified toll gates as one of the main hotspots for card cloning, but it has a new online technology now that is aimed at fixing this problem. Let's get some insight now, joined by Outer's CEO, Wayne Duvenage. Wayne, good to have you. Thank you very much for coming on this afternoon.
Thanks.
What do we know about the extent of this challenge of card cloning, particularly when it comes to making payments on our toll roads?
Yeah, it's been a problem for a long time. It's very easy once your card is out of sight, when you hand it over to somebody in a toll booth, for them to have skimmers and scans that take a copy of and clone your card. And you've seen it often. I've seen it often. It's very, very infuriating when they swipe the card twice. And that indicates that they're trying to copy the mag tape and or the microchip. So you've got to be very, very careful. It's been a problem, as I say, for a long time, and it's good to see the banks and SANRAL dealing with this, although SANRAL should have taken this under their wing and sorted it out many years ago.
I wanted to come to that. Have there been any attempts to try and secure, at least create a secure payment system in that environment from SANRAL's side?
Yeah, I think they've known about this fraud that's been taking place for many years, and they've been very slow to react. It's only recently, and with the banks who are getting fed up with the amount of card cloning that was taking place, that in the last 6 months or year or so, that serious action has been taken. But again, we see it often. I don't know if you've been to these toll plazas, but the tap and go mechanism on the outside of the booth, they are tampered with, so they don't work. So it's forcing you to hand your card in to the toll operator, and again, once that card is out of your sight, it's very, very quick to clone it. So I think SANRAL should have been addressing this issue 10 years ago, quite frankly.
Now, I want to say the ETOL technology, if you want to call it the tags, let's call them that, would have been a perfect solution to this. But others will say, well, Outer didn't want these things.
No, we got no problem with the tagging system. Remember, we've always said that the technology is good and works around the world, and the user-based principle is good. All we said all along that the whole e-tolling system was going to collapse under its own weight because it was not administratively viable and too cumbersome for a pay now or travel now and pay later system. Remember, the toll booths that you travel on to eThekwini and Mbombela, these are boom down gantries. You can't go through unless you pay. And the toll tags for those, and they're all linked up, by the way, is very good. So now that e-tolls is over, if I was traveling frequently on those other toll routes, I would get an e-tag. So we were never opposed to the technology. And I think there are a lot of people that are fitting those tags now that the e-toll system is over.
Of course, you are now watching closely any abuse of taxpayer money. That's what your organization stands for, really. And looking at the introduction of this system, if we are to do a total migration from swipes to contactless transaction or tags or cards that are enabled at least to do this kind of transaction, I'm sure it will have a price tag to it.
No. So there's no price tag to it. I think there's a small price tag for the motorists for the convenience to get the tag as it was with the ETOL system. But it's very low cost. The cost is actually picked up by the toll operator, SANRAL and or the concessionaire. And why they want that is because it's very convenient. So the more people that switch over to the tag system, the less they need to have people manning booths and managing cash and all of those risks that come with that. So this tag solution to the long distance tolls, the boom down tolls, has been around for a good 10 years now. It's been in operation. A lot of people were reluctant to switch to it while the ETOL system was on because it was all linked. Since ETOL stopped in April last year, we believe that there has been a considerable shift, and there should be a shift. We're not opposed to that technology.
Now, of course, the debate, Wayne, that you would have had and the conversation that I would have had with you was around the fact that many people are saying, well, we are already paying tax for the roads. Now you've got e-tolls in that particular instance, and we are being taxed again. And then we began to have a conversation around how this money from the tolls is ring-fenced. Have we made any movement on that particular conversation?
Oh, and that's a very good question. We at ARTA are actually in court trying to get some understanding of what those revenues are that are earned by the three concessions. That's N3TC, Track, and Bakwena. And it's our money, by the way, and yet they're refusing to give us this information. And we've always said that when government refuses to give you information which should be public, you've got to smell a rat. So we are trying to get this information. But the other thing that is looming now is these concessions are coming up for finality. They're coming to their end in the next few years, which means that those tolls, those roads, that infrastructure is paid off. And what we would expect is SANRAL to take those tolls over because they don't have to be handed over to these concessions anymore, as they do manage a number of other toll routes. And they should be able to reduce the toll fees on those roads significantly by much more than half, because all they need to do now is maintain them. There's very little upgrading, there's very little widening. That infrastructure is paid off now over 30 years. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what they do in this regard. And we're hoping that they do it properly and that they do not extend these concessions again, because there's a lot of money being made by these concessionaires right now, and it needs to stop, and there needs to be a lot more transparency. And SANRAL have been lacking in transparency on this matter.
It's not a secret that there are fiscal pressures when it comes to our government to be able to carry out the projects and infrastructure projects, particularly that they want to carry out and continue to pay social grants, continue to pay the increases to salaries of public servants and so on and so forth. So we are speaking of a VAT increase now, which the minister says is inevitable. But who's watching these tolls very closely? Because there's another thinking that says there's money that is being made really by government on these tolls to try and fund all these things that government is trying to be busy with.
Yeah, so we're watching it very closely. And SANRAL had a very clear user pays policy, and money collected on one toll road could only be used on that toll road. And they've changed these policies over the years. So now they can mix and match. So it's no longer a user pays scheme. And that's what worries us. And again, we are asking SANRAL to be extremely transparent around these matters. You don't want people traveling on high volume roads to be paying for other roads. The user pays scheme is all about that route. And I remember 40 years ago, I think at Marion Hill Toll Plaza, when they first put that one up, there was a furor about that. And SANRAL said at the time that they would take it down, or government said they would take that toll plaza down once that infrastructure had been paid off. Well, guess what? It's still operating. It hasn't been taken down. So tolling is a very good source of revenue, but it can be abused. And we see that abuse taking place along our toll roads, quite frankly.
We are told, Wayne, that the VAT increase will be mitigated by a no fuels levy increase. Is that going to come back to bite us?
Well, if you're saying it was one of the alternatives that we offered, look, it's the lesser of the two evils. So if you're looking at increasing VAT by 0.5%, and you increase the fuel levy by 50 cents, you're going to create or generate similar amounts of revenue. Now, remember, the Minister of Finance has not increased the fuel levy by 3 years now. And we congratulate him on that. And we are not saying that a fuel levy should go up again. What we're saying is if you've got a trade-off between 50 cents on the fuel levy or 0.5% on VAT, it's probably going to be an easier pill to swallow for the country to put up the fuel levy temporarily by 50 cents to raise about 12 billion rand a year, and that will offset and negate the need for the increase in VAT. Now, what we are saying is we're not advocating for that. We're saying also we provide solutions and alternatives, and what we're suggesting to government is that if you even do that, it needs to be done temporarily while you go on this austerity drive and start looking for the waste. And there are billions of rands in waste, which our government seems to be unable to tackle. They need to address the efficiencies in government, get the systems right, and reduce the bloatedness of our government and the costs. If they can do that, we've said and proposed this to the minister, there are billions and billions of rands that are A, not collected in VAT and taxes, and B, that should be saved. So if you do increase the fuel levy by 50 cents, Minister Ngonongwana, you need to do so very temporarily until you reduce your other waste and costs.
Always a pleasure, Wayne. Thanks so much for coming on. Alta CEO Wayne Duvenage there. Give us some insight, a new online toll-paying system, saying it is indeed a good move in terms of technology to go that direction, but also weighing in on some of the other aspects of what it means, certainly to raise revenue via this particular platform. Right.